Drew DeArmond, I hope you're having a great day. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Welcome. It's always great to be back on with you and Mark Keys in Tuscaloosa. Ryan, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hey, we're good. We're good. We're just talking a little Alabama Crimson Tide football. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Kind of recapping scrimmage. Everything that you've heard. What was your biggest takeaway from the scrimmage?
Same old, same old. Tua, though, he kind of surprised me a little bit by seeing action in the scrimmage. He immediately led a touchdown drive, and the offense took kind of picked up where it left off in the national championship game. Jalen Hurts, made a nice throw, obviously to Henry Ruggs, made another good run, but also mixed in between there was the same inconsistency on offense, and overall it wasn't a great day for Jalen. I hear Mac Jones, did a few good things, but really it was basically Tua who separated himself and continues to. And the other two quarterbacks were ordinary.
All right, so let me ask you here, because there's a lot of fans that are pulling for Jalen Hurts, obviously a guy that's won a lot of football games for the University of Alabama. If you're one of those fans, give them some reason to hang on to that Jalen Hurts could be the starting quarterback in 2018.
Tua might get injured. I mean,
you're right. It's contact sport.
Yeah, it's a contact sport. I mean, that's pretty much the only hope. In my opinion, because I believe Tua Tagovailoa is the best quarterback for this football team. But again, they're going to continue to compete the rest of this spring. And Jalen did have a couple of moments in the scrimmage, but you're looking for consistency, you're looking for accuracy, you're looking for good decision making. And I still think if you're the University of Alabama and you want to be the best offense you can be and defend your championship, especially when you're rebuilding on defense, then I think, Tua Tagovailoa gives you the best chance to win. And that's what Nick Saban's paid to do. He's paid $11 million a year to win football games and try to continue to win national championships and go down as the greatest of all time. And his best opportunity to do that is with Tua Tagovailoa behind center.
Drew, when you look at this offensive line, I want you to take a prediction of what do you think this offensive line will look like in 145 days, brought to you by Alabama Credit Union against Alabama and Louisville?
Well, I'm still a little bit worried about the center position, only because 2 years ago, Ross Pierce-Baker had some issues with snaps. I know, from what I understand, he may have had an issue with one that led to re-aggravating his hand injury a little bit. I mean, nothing serious. I don't think it's long-term. From what I understand, he was supposed to be back out there today. But I think overall, I'm still a little, skeptical about center because of the snap issues. If you had to ask me, I would still probably lean toward, Ross being the center, but I don't think Brandon Kennedy needs to be discounted in this situation. Maybe even a guy like Josh Casher as well. But I think right now, if you had to ask me, I would say that Ross Pierce-Baker would have the odds-on favorite to start at center. Just to get the best five out there. I think, left guard, I guess I would have an either or. I would have Josh Casher or Lester Cotton. Lester Cotton has been with the ones, but he's had his issues during his career, so that would kind of be an either or. And then I would have to have probably at right guard, I would have to say right now, probably Jedrick Wills, and then right tackle, Matt Womack, and left tackle, Jonah Williams. I know Alex Leatherwood has seen some time at right tackle. From what I understand, he struggled a little bit the other day. I think he'd be, a great third tackle, a guy that if Jonah Williams gets shaken up, if Matt Womack is struggling, you could have him ready to go. But I still think when Matt Womack comes back at this point in time, he's earned the trust of the coaching staff. If you had to ask me right now who the five guys would be, I would have to say, I would say right now it'd be on the left side. It would be Jonah Williams and Lester Cotton. But I'd say you'd also see Josh Casher playing about just as much. They would probably split time. And then Ross Pierce-Baker at center, right guard Jedrick Wills, and right tackle Matt Womack would be my guys that I would kind of.
So you think Matt Womack can hold on?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he was a solid right tackle last year, Ryan. He struggled some in pass protection. But trust is a big thing with Nick Saban. Usually when you're injured, you don't lose your job. You have to lose it due to non-performance and or something when Alphonse Shank Taylor had trouble, maintaining his weight and had some other issues off the field. Matt Womack is a guy that's steady as she goes. He's solid as a rock. He's basically, another version of Drew Davis, and he has done nothing to lose his job. So I would think Matt Womack right now, and I've even talked about him maybe moving inside the guard, but he is 6'7". I think Jedrick Wills can play either spot, and I think Jedrick is athletic enough to be a guy that can pull at guard and be athletic. And so I would lean towards Jedrick at guard and Matt Womack at tackle. I think Matt fits at tackle maybe a little bit better from a physicality standpoint.
Let me go to the backs here for a couple of minutes. When you look at running back, obviously some guys that may have been able to gather some attention the first half of spring practice. We're on the back end, sliding down Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday practice this week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday next week. Talk about what you've heard from running backs.
I just heard that Brian Robinson really continued to impress. He's a versatile guy. They even trust him enough with his blocking ability to play some fullback. But basically what I was told is that he is going to force his way into the lineup. Does that mean he's going to start? No, but I do think he's going to have a role, and a bigger one than he had last year. I understand Najee Harris made 2 or 3 really good runs, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Damian Harris, only got a handful of touches, but again, that's to be expected. He's a senior. He spoke to the media today. He's got the complete trust of the coaching staff. And then you got a guy like Josh Jacobs coming back from an injury. To me, it's an embarrassment of riches. I mean, they've got 4 guys right now that I think they really, really like. They're going to try to carve out roles for. And then I think the versatility of Brian Robinson to be a Roy Upchurch type guy. They can play fullback, and they can catch the ball out of the backfield, and they can do a lot of different things. Is going to help Alabama, no doubt about that. And again, then Jerome Ford, when he gets here in May, he'll be a guy that, is almost like a Kenyon Drake type. That year Kenyon came on to the scene. He was so talented that they played 5 that year. Do I think they'll play 5 this year? I doubt it, unless the injury creeps up. But right now, I think they've got 4 running backs. I think they like them all, and I think they're going to carve out a role for every one of them. And I think, if Tua Tagovailoa is at quarterback, I don't think you'll see as many design runs. I would be shocked if you saw more than 5 carries a game out of the QB position, which is going to open up the playbook for probably 10 more touches for these running backs who, at times, Jalen Hurts the last 2 years has led this team in carries, and I don't think you're going to see that from the quarterback this year at all.
Let me go to the wide receivers here for just a couple of minutes. We're talking to Drew DeArmond, 97.7 The Zone in Huntsville, Alabama. Drew, let me go back and focus on these wide receivers for a couple of minutes. I know Jerry Jeudy, with the injury as far as the knee injury, Nick Saban said he doesn't really expect him back this week, possibly maybe next week. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But you look at these wide receivers, I guess who has gathered the most attention this spring?
Well, I think Devonta Smith continues to make plays. He had about a 25-yard touchdown catch from Tua Tagovailoa. They seem to have excellent chemistry. He's a playmaker beyond a shadow of a doubt. Henry Ruggs kind of the deep one from Jalen Hurts. He's obviously the real deal. The 2 that are very intriguing are Terrell Shavers. I understand he was targeted quite a bit in the scrimmage. He's 6'4". When Nick Saban, when he talks about you in a press conference, it means that you're becoming a priority and they would like to see you become involved in the offense. He brings a different element because of his size, has good speed. He redshirted last year, so I'm interested to see if Terrell Shavers continues to develop. One guy that has gotten almost zero buzz, but from what I understand, caught some passes on Saturday, is Chadarius Townsend. He's a redshirt freshman from Tanner High School in my community, near my stomping grounds in North Alabama. He redshirted last year. He caught a few passes. And then you can't forget about Xavion Marks. He's a senior. I know he's had some kickoff and punt return responsibilities, but he also caught some passes. So it's giving guys another opportunity to prove themselves. Even a guy like a fifth-year senior like Derek Keith, who we haven't seen too much from. I don't expect Keith to be a huge factor. I'm not even sure he'll be here in the fall. I mean, he can graduate transfer, and you wouldn't blame the young man, but especially when Jalen Waddle gets here, because speaking of someone that's by the force of their talent is going to force their way into the lineup, I will be shocked if Jalen Waddle is not in the 2 deep by the time they take on Louisville and Orlando, and is not a huge factor when it comes to punt and kickoff returns.
So you're saying that you think he's going to be in two deep wide receiver, and he's not a guy that's on campus yet, but he will be here hopefully that summer session number one. You think he can work his way in that second rotation?
Freak, absolutely. He's a 5-star talent. I've even heard buzz that the coaching staff thinks he could be the most talented when he arrives. So that tells you his ability.
Let's go to the defensive side of the football. Let's go back here just for a couple of minutes. Savion Smith seemed to got a lot of buzz from Saturday. That's good news for Alabama fans on a defensive back perspective.
No question. He's a plug-and-play guy. At LSU, for whatever reason, he wasn't consistent. He didn't mesh well with their coaching staff. He was a 5-star talent coming out of high school with the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. It's very encouraging that he seems to be picking up the system of Nick Saban, and he and Carl Scott have had good chemistry so far. I think they've penciled him in as a starter, no question about it. You'd like to see Trevon Diggs get back out there this week. I know Nigel Knott received a lot of reps, and he's someone that came in from Mississippi a couple years ago with a big reputation. He's been injured. He redshirted. It's taken him a while. I know Nick Saban has been on him as far as attention to detail. He was a guy that got torched last spring, but we've seen this before when guys that bounce back and get better. But Nigel Knott still receiving. I still think it's too early to give up on him as far as him becoming at least a serviceable backup. Very excited about what you hear about Cheyenne Carter. Nick Saban specifically talked about him last week, about him his taking a leadership role and performing well. He was on the field against Kirby Freeze. Smart quite a bit. In the national championship game after Tony Brown had some issues in coverage. So Shy Carter seems to be, earning the trust of the coaching staff, playing that star position. And then a guy like Jared Maiden, we've seen some photos of him. Looks like he's taking some steps forward physically. He's a guy that can fit at the dime and at the nickel spot. So he's been competing with Shy Carter. As has Kyrie McDonald. It's kind of like what I said this weekend, Ryan. When you think about this secondary, they're inexperienced, but they're very talented. Some people think they might even be more talented and have more playmaking ability than the group last year. And the safety spots certainly sound encouraging with what we saw out of Deontay Thompson in the playoff, and then also with what Xavier McKinney and his spot duty was able to do last year. So Xavier McKinney and Deontay Thompson, hearing some really good things about them also as spring practice has reached just past the halfway point.
Hearing a lot of negative comments, and I think this is where we have just become so accustomed to J.K. Scott grabbing the football and bombing it away and pinning teams inside the 20-yard line. It doesn't seem that Skylar DeLong has been able to step in and grab that punting job. Obviously, it's his, but it's not going to be the same when you watch J.K. Scott, probably the best punter in Alabama history out there on Saturday.
Well, certainly he's up there with Chris Moore, who spent a long time in the National Football League with the Buffalo Bills. I expect J.K. to have a long career as long as he's healthy in the NFL. And you're right. He was a 4-year starter, a guy that put the field pretty much from his freshman year on. It was a force for Alabama, no doubt about it, from 2014 going forward. He was a big part of Alabama's special teams. From what I understand, Skylar DeLong, a little bit of issues with hang time, and maybe, as Coach Saban said, was a little slow getting the ball away. But again, it's really early. It's his first scrimmage, and I'll just caution everyone because of the slow start Andy Papanastas got off to last year as a place kicker. He did not start very strongly at all, but he ended up coming on into the fall, and of course he had his issues in the postseason. But remember, he made 14 out of 15 kicks at one point in the regular season. And was a big reason that Alabama, had some success last year. I was very encouraged from what I heard about Joseph Galovis. Missed his first kick. I think, from what I understand, it was around a 48-yarder. But considering the weather and the wind, made 4 straight kicks, most of them 40-plus yards. I think only one was in the 30-yard range. So just a very nice day for Joseph Galovis and a nice start. And don't forget, Austin Jones will be there to compete in May. So place kicking off to a promising start. Punting is a work in progress, and I still think the kick return situation will be solved when Jalen Waddle arrives in May.
We're talking some Alabama Crimson Tide football. Let's put that on the side just for a couple of seconds. How would you spin this Auburn crowd down in Lee County? Because the Auburn fans are not very excited about Auburn football.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they knew Jarrett Stidham wasn't going to play. The weather wasn't very good. It was cold and rainy through most of the day, and the crowd, to me, I know that the guesstimate was 28,000. It looked like it was under 20. It looked like more around 15,000 to me. But they also charge $5 a head for their to attend. So to me, a spring game should be a time to go to. It should be free. It should be a situation where you just want to get your fans out there to have some fun, maybe get some autographs after, see the guys play. But obviously, the weather wasn't ideal this past weekend, so that affected Auburn's crowd. And then Jarrett Stidham not being available, he didn't really practice much all spring. I think he threw 8 passes, from what I understand. He was 7 of 8, some 7-on-7 work before the 8A game. He did not play. So, and again, they've lost 2 guys to ACL injuries. In Will Hastings and Elijah Stove. So they've got to replace Kerryon Johnson. A lot of pieces have to fall into place for this offense. Don't forget, Auburn has a difficult opener. They've got to go back to kind of a house of horrors for them. They have not performed well in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They're 0 so far, and they take on Chris Peterson in Washington. And as you know college football well, Ryan. Chris Peterson is one of the more underrated coaches in college football. He believes in physicality. He believes in running the football and balance on offense. So Auburn right now is touting their defense as the best in college football. They've got to be ready to strap it up on September the 1st against Washington, because that's not going to be a cakewalk for the Auburn Tigers, I can assure you.
You know, if you look at the Auburn Tigers going up against Washington, as you said about Chris Peterson, when you look at that game, that could be the knockout punch early for 2018 for the Auburn Tigers.
Well, if they can't pass block any better than they did this spring, it might be the knockout punch for Jarrett Stidham, because he's coming off of a non-throwing labor injury that he had to have surgery on. They had trouble protecting him against quality opponents last year. Herb Hand's now off to Texas to quote unquote help their offensive line. J.B. Grimes has been brought back. Auburn, pursued a graduate transfer in Calvin Anderson to play their left tackle position. He decides to go back home to Austin, Texas, and play for Herb Hand and the Texas Longhorns. So Auburn has not been satisfied, I don't think, with their offensive tackle recruiting. Prince Tega, I thought he was very average against quality competition last year. Now in the right tackle spot, Austin Troxell, who I know he and his family well, rooting for that young man. He's coming back from a couple of knee injuries, but he's competing against Calvin Ashley, who was supposed to be a 5-star player, but last year came in overweight and had the red shirt, and from what I understand, has been underwhelming thus far in the fall. I would be a little nervous if I were Auburn going into into fall camp, because I think their offensive line is a work in progress at best, and they're going to be scouring the country for graduate transfers because, quite frankly, they haven't recruited very well on that offensive line, and I still think it sticks in the craw of some of the Auburn fans that Jonah Williams' mother graduated from Auburn, and yet he's got rings on his finger at Alabama.
Drew DeArmond, Drew D 977 ESPN, Drew D 977 ESPN, Talkin Ball up in the Rocket City 9 until noon daily. You can find him on the TuneIn app as well. Listen to his program Monday through Friday, 9 until noon. Talkin Ball, Drew DeArmond, as always, thank you again for your time, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Absolutely, and I hope Kirby Smart enjoys watching Alabama at the White House tomorrow.
Yeah, but here's the bet, though. Here's what we're asking. Do you think Donald Trump can say Tua Tagovailoa?
I think he's already been working on it. I think he'll do a fine job.
You sure? You think he'll be able to do that?
I think he will say Tagovailoa. I think he is.
I don't think he can. I don't think he can. I don't think he can.
I think he will. I think he will say it and get it at least close to correct.
Okay. Kirby Smart knows that name though.
He certainly does, and so does the play-by-play man, Scott Howard. He can have a nice day. I hope he had a happy Easter.